As you've probably heard us talk about on the show, the Washington Post has a big team covering the Paris Olympics. They're following all the highlights and what's happening behind the scenes. And one way that I've been keeping up on all of it is by listening to the Post's pop-up podcast, The Sports Moment, hosted by my colleague Ava Wallace. On today's episode of The Sports Moment, Ava talks to Post features writer Dan Zak, who is covering the Olympics as a cultural event, like how celebrities seem to be everywhere this time, and the importance of hospitality houses at the games, these party houses where people can watch sporting events with their compatriots. Again, you can listen to that in the Sports Moment feed. But today on Post Report, we're bringing you another Olympics story. This one hosted by my colleague Elahe Izadi. She dives into something new at the Olympics this year that I'm very excited to watch.
There are only a few days left in the Paris Olympics, and there's one event that you may be surprised to see debut at the Games: breaking, or as you might call it, breakdancing.
It's cool to win the medal, that's my main goal, but honestly, just to represent hip-hop culture and breaking culture is really what would mean the world to me, just to expose it to like a broader audience.
I'm happy to be a part of this. We're making history as we go. We're literally creating it.
That's B-Boy Victor and B-Boy Phil Wizard. They're competing this year. And this is all part of a bigger movement to add sports to the Olympics that appeal to younger audiences, like surfing and skateboarding during the Tokyo Games. But I'm especially excited to see breaking come to the Olympics. In a past life before I was co-host of Post Reports, breaking was a big part of my world. I tried to do it in college. I lasted about a year. It's actually really hard and time-consuming, but I got really into the scene instead. And I'd go to competitions, and I was just blown away by the creativity and passion and raw talent I'd see. And this wasn't just some fad. For many dancers, this was the central passion of their lives. And it's just grown in popularity all over the world since then. Still, even I was shocked when I heard breaking would be added to the Olympics this year. We're going to see men and women from the US and Kazakhstan, South Korea, all over the world go head to head. So I wanted to call someone up who could walk me through this.
It's just hard to really put into words because this was a dream for most breakers coming up.
That's Ronnie Abaldonado, otherwise known as B-Boy Ronnie. This is what he does for a living. But he started breaking in 1993 with his older brother in Las Vegas.
So it was pretty much just watching a lot of, MTV music videos. Like I remember watching Michael Jackson, obviously, he was huge, but Breakin', Electric Boogaloo, and Beat Streets were the two cult classic movies that really inspired me to, take it to the next level. No time for words, we're through with that. All there is left is pure
combat. He's been in some of the most famous breaking crews in the world, like the Jabberwockies and Super Crew, when it won the popular MTV competition show, America's Best Dance Crew.
And then you have Ronnie. He continues to do the flares, and he comes and he threads his team up, and everybody comes into like a b-boy stance on their knee, and then he hits a freeze. This crew is amazing. I love y'all.
Ronnie now competes and judges competitions around the world. And he's also been part of the push to add breaking to the Olympics.
I feel like everything is about timing, and this is the best time for breaking to be at a platform this big. Because if this would have happened 20 years ago, the organization wasn't there, the production of events. But now breaking is so solidified as far as, the professionalism and the structure. So there's this whole new resurgence of breaking. And this is just a perfect time for it to be in the Olympics.
From the newsroom of the Washington Post, this is Post Reports. I'm Elahe Izadi. It's Thursday, August 8th. Today, breaking comes to the Olympics. The competition starts tomorrow, and you won't want to miss it because it could be a once-in-a-lifetime event. So I talk with Ronnie about how a form of expression that originated in the Black and Latino neighborhoods of the Bronx got to the Olympic stage in Paris, and what you need to understand to watch and enjoy this sport like a pro. Ronnie, one question I really wanted to start out with you is, and just to get everyone on the same page, breakdancing or breaking, it's now been added to the Olympics as an official sport, which I think is surprising to people whose only exposure to breaking has been maybe like the dancers they see on street corners in their city, or like, let's be real, like soda commercials or movies, like shout out to Step Up movies.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think of it as maybe just entertainment. Should they now be thinking about breakdancing as a sport?
Yes, it is a sport now, because if you're judging it, it makes it a sport, right? Back then, like you were saying, there was other lanes that you could take breaking as far as commercial work, right? You could be a backup dancer for a musician. We have a lot of breakers that moved here from around the world to work at shows like Jabberwockies, Cirque du Soleil. One of our crew members works for Magic Mike. But yeah, you're right. No one really looks at it like it could be something that could be judged in the Olympics. But yeah, it just evolved so much to the point where breaking is undeniable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the world's ready to see breaking in the Olympics, because it's about to blow people's minds.
Wait, why? Why do you say that?
Because the level is just so different. There was always this misconception about breaking in the 80s, like street corners dancing on linoleum and cardboard.
Right.
But it's not like that anymore. If you look at the level of difficulty as a sport compared to gymnastics or all the other sports where it's just using your body, breaking has taken it to a whole another level.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes it so special too is it's not just the physical ability, right? Because it's still an art.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the point system for breaking in the Olympics, they're going to be looking at 5 different categories. They're looking at technique, the vocabulary you have, the execution, originality, and musicality. So the music plays such a big part
Mm-hmm.
in this sport, which no other sport really has, right?
Yeah.
I know that they do it in ice skating.
Yeah, but in ice skating, like they get to choose their music. And
Exactly,
that's not the
yeah.
case here, right? You just like come out and don't know what
Yes.
you're going to be hit with.
Exactly, yeah. So you're basically freestyling to whatever song the DJ decides to play, but then you could have a set. So there's different breakers that approach battles differently. You can have someone that's just more about the music, someone that has a set, like a routine, some that are more power based, some that are more footwork based, right? So if you really get technical with breaking, there's so many different styles out there. And what I love about breaking is each breaker kind of has their own identity, right? That's why we all have aliases. And I don't know how it is for the Olympics, but this might be the first sport where all the individuals are using their nicknames and not their real names.
So interesting.
Right.
Yeah. What are the origins of breakdancing, and how have you seen it evolve from, where did it start and where has it gone? So let's start with, where did it start?
Bronx, New York.
No question.
It started with, yeah. And it just started with kids. And what's crazy is I started breaking in the early 90s, but now I'm good friends with a lot of the pioneers, the practitioners, people that pretty much created this dance. And it's just cool to just kind of cross-reference everyone's stories and to see how things were in the 80s. Because, there's this famous line from Biggie Smalls, never thought that hip-hop would take it this far.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar with breaking, being in the Olympics right now, right? Because when it started in the streets in New York, they were all kids, and it wasn't about battling. It was more of a party dance back then, actually, right? And just ciphering, and there was no rules. That's why breaking wouldn't have been in the Olympics back then, because no one understood, like, okay, how do you judge a battle? How many rounds do you go? How long is each round? Like with the music aspect of it. So now it's so structured, so it's completely evolved. And what I love about it, it's so timeless, because you still have competitors in the Olympics. One of my good friends, Hong Ten, he's going to be representing Korea. He's 39 years old.
Is that old for breaking?
That's old for Olympics in general,
yeah,
right?
That's true, yeah.
And then he's literally up against like some teenagers, some breakers that are in their 20s.
Wow.
So there's the lineup consists of athletes, athletes that are ranging from their teens to their late 30s, and they're all in tip-top physical shape. And I think what makes it special too is every individual, if you follow breaking, they all have their own style.
So I want to learn a little bit more about the evolution of breakdancing from the Bronx to this global phenomenon, and also how it turned into this competitive elite sport, as you're saying. Like, how did you see that play out in your own career?
So how the whole competition aspect ended up being big is after it kind of died out, in the 80s, because it kept fluctuating. When Beat Street came out, it was big. And then Flashdance came out, it was big. And then it kind of died out. It was a fad, and it came back in Europe. But crew battles were big. It wasn't one versus one like the Olympics. The Olympics is one versus one.
Explain what a crew battle is and what a crew is.
So it started really in the boroughs in New York, right? Like the Bronx had certain crews, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and then they would all meet at a certain place and start battling each other, right? So it would be a crew, with up to like 10 members, even more. And there was really no point system. It was basically who was, stealing the momentum of the battle. Whoever had the best moves, whoever was executing, whoever had the most original moves, and whoever was dancing on beat, right? Because you could tell if someone's a good dancer or if someone is just completely, offbeat or has no rhythm, right? And I think it was in the early 2000s when Red Bull created an event called Red Bull BC1 when one-on-ones started getting big. And this was in 2004.
Touch hands, do your best moves. Let's get it on!
So the very first Red Bull BC1 started in 2004, and I was fortunate enough to make it to the finals.
Ronnie!
Wow.
And now Red Bull BC1 is like the premier event. The first year was in Switzerland. And then finally, I won the World Finals in Johannesburg, South Africa. So since 2004, this event has just been going on, and it's been like the premier breaking event. So the Olympics kind of took a recipe, kind of like a blueprint of what Red Bull BC1 created. A one versus one, a circular stage, judges are involved, but now there's more of a point system for the general public to understand.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie, it's interesting you're describing the way it's grown and has become this professional, elite, competitive thing. And part of what I'm hearing you also say is it's become global. And so how has breakdancing changed since it's become more global? And, like breakdancing as one of the central pillars of hip hop culture, which has been spread and embraced all over the world. Have you ever heard any concerns that, oh, this is being co-opted as it's becoming more global and getting away from its origins?
Yeah, there's always going to be your hip hop purist, right? But it's a small percentage because when breaking was announced in the Olympics, it was controversial. Like, should it be in the Olympics? It's not a sport, it's an art, it's hip hop. But you're always going to have people that just don't see the bigger picture, right? But I think it's great, and I think it's our job as practitioners to educate the new generation. Like, yes, this is a dance. Yes, it's turned into a sport. It's in the Olympics, but it is still part of the hip hop culture. Music is crucial. Fashion is crucial. Everything about breaking, like we still want to pay homage to the people that created it. And I do agree with you because a lot of the newer generation breakers, they kind of lost track of the history of where this came from. They just look at it like moves, right? Like, oh, that's cool. I just want to learn this move. And what I tell a lot of people in my classes that I teach or these workshops is like, you learn a move, try to do your research and see where this move came from, who created these moves, right? What crews started these movements, or wherever region you live, like who helped develop the scene and the community of breaking in your city. That's really important, right?
Yeah.
So it's just educating people. People.
Well, I guess what do you do about that, though, when you're saying that there are like younger folks out there, or maybe some of the people who are elite who don't really connect with the origins of it? And how do you contend with that? And how have you seen that even influence the style and what's becoming popular? And is there more of like a gravitation toward like big power moves and away from the artistry of it?
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of all of it.
Okay.
I think there's a healthy balance. There's a healthy balance because I completely understand what you're saying. Because sometimes when people just see big moves, they don't realize that like there's more to it than just like the explosiveness, right? You got to look at the technicality or the footwork or the musicality. Like breaking is so technical. And I know it's going to get controversial because there might be a battle where someone does a crazy move, and then someone who has an original style will beat that crazy move, and no one will understand like how the move he did is harder. But that's what's beautiful about breaking, is that when you study breaking, it's not just about like how hard a move is, because you could teach a hard move, but you can't teach originality.
Mm. The last few Olympics, we have seen them adding sports. And this time it's breakdancing. It was really popular in the 2018 Youth Olympics. And I hear you're like a big advocate for adding breakdancing to the Olympics. So I guess I'm wondering, what do you make of this movement to try to appeal to younger folks with the addition of these sports?
Yeah, I'm already starting to see it. Okay, so I saw one of the first waves after we won this big TV show called America's Best Dance Crew on MTV.
And
And
what year was
after we
that?
won, this was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Super Crew! Congratulations, you are America's Best Dance Crew!
So we won this big TV show, and then I just saw the impact that it had on the world, really, on the world. Everywhere we went, everyone trying to break. We had friends that told us that, they never had students in their classes. Now everyone just wanted to learn how to break.
Wow. So I guess you're going to see what the impact having breakdancing
Yeah.
on the Olympic stage is going to have. Like, how many more stories like that will there be?
Exactly. And to my point is, America's Best Dance Crew was huge, but it was a cable TV show. It was an American show, and it was very niche, right? This is worldwide, Paris Olympics. And I'm just like, wow, I feel like they're really trying to push breaking, because breaking is going to be on the last weekend.
Nice finale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's either one or two things. It's like they're saving the best for last, or maybe because breaking is such a new sport that they're putting it in the back. I don't know, but I'm an optimist, and I would like to think that they're really trying to, expose breaking in the right light too.
Yeah.
Because, you could overexpose breaking, and that's what some of these movies did, right? When certain movies came out, it was cringing. It was cringing, right? It was
commercialized
cheesy.
from the beginning, but it's like, I wonder now it's making this turn, and whether it will be commercialized in a different way or whether it's just going to spread in a way that it hasn't before.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been around for like 3 decades, so I've just seen the evolution of just how it's marketed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just seeing even the B girls. Oh my gosh! Like,
So these
I
are
could
women
count
that
all the
break
B-girls in
dance,
the-
so people know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's what's gonna really tip the scale for the Olympics is seeing the B girl battles. Because when I started, there wasn't a lot of B girls, right? I think just within the past 10 years, the rise of the B girl scene just really started growing rapidly, right? And now they have their own category in the Olympics. It's not as street as it used to be. It's like you can't deny.
After the break, Ronnie tells us what to watch for during the competition and which athletes we should be paying attention to. We'll be right back. Ronnie, for our listeners who've never seen a breakdancing competition, what do they need to know to understand what they're seeing, to kind of become experts overnight, and so that they can enjoy the breakdancing competition and sort of get what's going on?
From a technical standpoint, with breaking, you have the 4 elements of breaking, right? You have your top rock, your footwork, your power moves, and your freezes. So the way you look at it is they start off dancing up top, and then in no specific order, they get to the ground and they do footwork. Footwork is when they're shuffling in all fours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then power moves are all the explosive moves that everyone loves: the spinning moves, the air flares, the halos, and then they usually end it with a freeze. And the freeze is kind of like the exclamation point to their set. So that's how it's going to kind of look like to the naked eye. You see them dance, you see them get on the floor. They do a big, big, big move, and then they end it with a freeze, and then they get up, and then the next person comes out. And each round is generally like 30 seconds to a minute, right? And the way they're judging it is they have categories. It's technique, vocabulary, execution, musicality, and originality. So these 5 categories, the judges are gonna look at each individual that's going out there and who's doing majority of that. Because if someone goes out there and they're not dancing and they just do a crazy power move, then you're only excelling in one category, right? And then if someone goes out there and then they dance, they do power moves, and they hit a freeze on you, then they're probably more likely to win.
Wow. Well, it reminds me of gymnastics almost. Like you can spend all this time like getting ready for this thing. Although in gymnastics, you have everything like choreographed down to the moment, right? Whereas there's also this level of spontaneity. So
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, thinking about this idea of like, is it a sport? Is it an art form? And like, where's the room for the artistry? And how can judges judge something that is also about creativity, individuality, and just like what's really coming like from within you, in your soul and your spirit, right?
You need qualified judges. You need judges that know what they're looking at and that know who their breakers are too, and know their styles, because biting is a big thing as well, right?
What's biting?
Biting is copying.
Mm-hmm.
In breaking, we have our own kind of like terminologies, right? So in breaking, when you call someone a biter, that means they copy that move. They're not original. So that's going against the originality points, right? If someone goes out there and he's doing someone else's signature freeze, it's like you just bit that move.
Oh, wait. So
right?
like during the Olympics, someone could go out and bite a breaker who's not even there, like a b-boy who's not even there, but the judges are like, oh no, we know that that's like this other person. Wow.
Exactly, yeah.
That's so interesting. So Ronnie, who are some of the people competing this year who you're excited to watch?
Oh man, I'm really excited. One of the first breakers that made it onto the Olympics that didn't have to do the qualification, his name is B-Boy Victor. He's competing for Team USA. And the B girls that are representing USA is Logan Logistics. She's Filipino American. And Sunny Choi. She's from New York, so she has a story too, you know, and they're amazing. I think you're gonna love watching them. And then Jeff Rowe, he qualified, so our second American qualified. It's one of my good friends, Hong Ten.
Shout out to all fellow 39-year-olds.
I know, right? And he's ranked number 2.
Wow.
They have like the whole point system leading up, and he's ranked number 2 as far as like all the points he accumulated to make it to the Olympics. He's amazing. His energy is amazing. He has his own style, so he's a perfect example of someone who has made an impact in the world of breaking based on his own original style. So it's hard to beat someone that's original.
Yeah. I know also a colleague of mine, he profiled B-Girl Talash, who she's much newer to breaking. She fled Afghanistan because of her passion for it. You know, like she got death threats, and she'll be competing on the refugee team. And her story to me also just underscores, like, again, the commitment and the love that people have for this thing that's actually very difficult to do.
Yeah, very difficult. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to USA. I'm looking forward to Korea. I'm looking forward to Netherlands. Some of the best breakers are from the Netherlands, believe it or not.
Wow.
And Japan. I would say Japan is number 1 right now, because in Budapest, the big girl battle, all 3 medalists were Japanese.
Wow.
It was Ami, Ayumi, and Riko. All Japanese big girls placed in the podium.
Well, I feel so prepared for the Olympics now to watch this.
Yeah, it's so cool. Just following everyone's stories and just seeing what it took for all of them to get to where they're at. Imagine how cool. They only chose 16 B-boys and 16 B-girls. And there's so many that deserve the spot too, but it's just like, oh man.
Yeah. So,
you know?
Ronnie, just looking to the future, what will you be thinking about? What's next for breaking?
What's next for breaking after the Olympics? Well, I feel like there's just so much opportunities, and living here in Vegas, I feel like Vegas is turning into like the dance hub, you know, and there's so many opportunities. So what I look forward to is just breaking, taking it to a whole another level beyond the Olympics.
Yeah. And
right?
For all those parents listening out there, if you want your child to maybe be an Olympian in the future, maybe find a breakdancing class for them when they're 10.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And it takes a lot of dedication, you know, because I could also see how it could be intimidating, because, you know, as a kid, you see these hard moves and you just have to really stay dedicated. But it's fun too. And I think that's why I fell in love with breaking to begin with, right? Because when I started, there was no real rules. I was like the premature stages of breaking when I was just really creating my own style as well, right? And now it's become like part of breaking. Like certain moves that you see, those were moves that were created by an individual that became part of the foundation of breaking.
Yeah. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much for joining me and taking time to explain all this. It's been great to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
That was Ronnie Abaldonado, a breaker and contributor to NBC. He spoke with my co-host, Elahe Izadi. There is a lot going on in the news today. And before we go, we're bringing you a couple other stories our colleagues have been working on. The CDC has come out with new federal health guidelines about IUDs. In recent months, there has been a huge nationwide outcry from women who say they experienced severe pain when getting an intrauterine device, and that doctors don't really do anything about it. Online, women have been using their smartphones to document their screams, their tears, and their acute distress during the IUD insertion process. Now, the CDC is telling healthcare providers to address the problem. They say doctors should talk with patients about the potential for pain during IUD insertion and give them options to help manage pain before undergoing the procedure. Also, some sad news for Taylor Swift fans. She has canceled 3 shows in Vienna over fears of a terrorist attack. On Wednesday, Austrian authorities said that they had arrested 2 suspects accused of planning attacks at Swift's shows. The concerts were scheduled for today, tomorrow, and Saturday. They were expected to draw more than 150,000 people. The Eras Tour has been a huge economic boom for the cities it visits. Swifties have flown from around the world to see the shows. So today, after the cancellations, Austrian and international Swifties alike gathered in big groups in the streets of Vienna to trade friendship bracelets and to sing Taylor Swift songs together. That's it for Post Reports. Thanks for listening. Today's show was produced by Sabby Robinson. It was mixed by Sean Carter and edited by Monica Campbell and Ted Muldoon. Thanks also to Jason Murray. I'm Martine Powers. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories from the Washington Post.